Have you ever wondered why some women effortlessly attract respect and admiration, while others seem to push people away without realizing it? What is it about certain women that make men naturally drawn to them, while others unknowingly turn them off? The answer isn't in looks, wealth, or even intelligence. It's in confidence. Confidence is magnetic. It's a force that commands attention without words. It's not about arrogance or trying to be perfect. It's about knowing your worth and carrying yourself with quiet strength. The truth is, insecurity is one of the biggest turn-offs for men, yet many women don't even realize the small behaviors that reveal self-doubt. Today we are breaking it down. 8 behaviors that scream insecurity and silently push men away. Stay with me until the end, because by the time we finish, you'll walk away with a new perspective, a shift in how you carry yourself, how you think, and how you attract not just men, but respect, admiration, and opportunities in every area of life. This is about transformation. Let's begin. Confidence versus insecurity, the silent game changer. Human psychology teaches us that people are wired to respond to certainty. A person who moves with confidence and assurance is seen as capable, desirable, and valuable. On the other hand, insecurity signals weakness. It creates doubt, confusion, and resistance. Men, just like women, are naturally drawn to energy. They're drawn to a woman who knows her value, not because she constantly proves it, but because she silently owns it. Insecurity, however, sends the opposite message. It shows up in words, actions, and even body language. And when it becomes a pattern, it creates an invisible barrier that keeps people at a distance. So the question is, are you aware of the signals you're sending? The unconscious signals of insecurity. Most women don't wake up in the morning and decide to be insecure. Insecurity creeps in through subconscious behaviors, through the things we say and do without realizing their impact. It shows up in the way we over-apologize, the way we second-guess ourselves, and the way we seek validation from others. But here's the powerful truth. Once you become aware of these patterns, you can change them. And when you change them, everything shifts. Your energy shifts, the way people perceive you shifts, and the way men respond to you shifts. This isn't about changing yourself to please a man. This is about elevating yourself so that no one, not a man, not society, not past experiences, can make you question your worth again. Why? Insecurity pushes men away. Men, whether they realize it or not, are instinctively drawn to strong, confident women. Not necessarily loud, outspoken, or dominant, but secure. A woman who walks into a room and doesn't need to be the center of attention, yet people feel her presence. A woman who doesn't beg for love or approval because she already knows she is enough. On the other hand, insecurity feels heavy, it feels draining. When a woman constantly doubts herself, overthinks every conversation, or seeks reassurance at every turn, it doesn't create attraction, it creates emotional exhaustion. And over time, it pushes men away. But here's the good news. Confidence is not something you are born with. It's something you build. It's a skill, a mindset, a habit. And today we're going to uncover the hidden behaviors that might be holding you back so you can replace them with powerful, confidence-building habits. The transformation starts now. If you've ever felt like you're not enough, like you have to prove your worth, or like you struggle with self-doubt, this is your moment to change. Because confidence is not about having all the answers or being perfect. It's about trusting yourself, standing in your power, and letting go of the fear that you are not worthy. As we move forward in this video, we will break down the 8 behaviors of insecurity that unknowingly turn men off. Pay close attention, because awareness is the first step to change. And by the end, you won't just understand what repels men, you'll understand what makes a woman truly irresistible. Stay with me. Let's elevate, let's transform, and let's step into the kind of confidence that changes everything. Have you ever met someone who constantly needs to be reassured that they're loved, appreciated, or valued? At first it might seem harmless, maybe even endearing, but over time it becomes exhausting, and for men it's one of the fastest ways to lose attraction. The need for validation is a silent killer of confidence. It whispers, "I am not enough unless someone tells me I am." It makes a woman dependent on external approval rather than her own self-worth. And here's the harsh truth: if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? Why seeking validation is a sign of insecurity. Human psychology tells us that confident people validate themselves. They don't wait for someone else to approve of them. They don't need constant reassurance because they trust their own value. But when a woman is insecure, she looks outside of herself for confirmation that she is worthy. This shows up in many ways. Asking questions like, "Do you still love me?" too often. Constantly fishing for compliments, needing immediate responses to texts or calls to feel secure. Feeling anxious when he doesn't acknowledge every little thing you do. These behaviors don't communicate love. They communicate doubt. And when doubt takes over, attraction fades. The silent message it sends to men, whether they express it or not, are drawn to women who carry a quiet certainty about themselves. A woman who knows she is valuable doesn't need to be told all the time. She just is. But when a woman constantly seeks validation, it sends a different message. It says, "I don't trust that I am enough. I need you to remind me of my worth. My confidence depends on your approval." And over time, this creates pressure. It makes a man feel like he has to constantly prove his feelings, like his words and actions are never enough. This isn't love, it's emotional exhaustion. Why confidence is the ultimate attraction? Confidence isn't about never needing reassurance. Everyone appreciates a kind word, a thoughtful compliment, or a loving gesture. But confidence means you don't need those things to feel whole. You don't panic if he doesn't text back right away. You don't overanalyze his tone or worry if he's losing interest every time he gets busy. Instead, you trust. You trust in yourself. You trust in the relationship. You trust in the fact that you bring value simply by being who you are. A confident woman doesn't beg for validation. She commands respect without saying a word. She walks into a room and people feel her presence, not because she's seeking attention, but because she is completely at peace with herself. Breaking free from the need for validation. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, don't feel ashamed. Insecurity is a learned behavior, and just as it was learned, it can be unlearned. The key is to shift your focus from external validation to internal strength. Here's how. Catch yourself in the moment. When you feel the urge to seek reassurance, pause. Ask yourself, am I looking for confirmation of my worth from someone else? Reaffirm your own value. Instead of seeking approval, remind yourself, I am enough as I am. My worth does not depend on someone else's words or actions. Build a life outside of relationships. Confidence comes from having a strong sense of self. Focus on your passions, goals, and personal growth. Give validation instead of seeking it. A truly confident woman uplifts others. She doesn't beg for love, she gives it, and in doing so, she receives it naturally. The power of self-trust. A woman who trusts herself doesn't need constant validation. She knows who she is. She believes in her own power. And that is the kind of woman who doesn't just attract men, she attracts the right men, the ones who respect her, admire her, and see her as an equal. When you stop needing validation, something incredible happens. You start choosing who is worthy of your time instead of trying to prove you are worthy of theirs. You no longer fear losing people because you know that anyone who truly values you will stay. Confidence isn't loud. It's not about being perfect. It's about standing firm in who you are and never doubting your worth again. And when you embrace that, everything changes. Because the most powerful woman in the room is the one who doesn't need to be told she belongs there. She just knows. Have you ever caught yourself replaying a conversation in your head, wondering if you said something wrong? Do you find yourself overthinking a simple text message? Dissecting every word, every punctuation mark, every delay in response? This is the trap of overanalyzing, and it's one of the most common signs of insecurity that pushes men away. Overanalyzing is not just exhausting for you, it's exhausting for the people around you. It creates tension where there is none. It turns small moments into unnecessary conflicts. It replaces confidence with anxiety, and that anxiety spreads. Because when you don't trust the flow of a relationship, you create pressure, and pressure kills attraction. Why overanalyzing is a sign of self-doubt? Overanalyzing stems from a fear of making mistakes, a fear of being judged, and a fear of not being enough. It's a defense mechanism. The mind tries to predict every possible outcome, hoping to avoid rejection or disappointment. But in reality, it does the opposite. It creates stress and insecurity that don't need to exist. This shows up in many ways. Reading too much into his tone, wondering if he's upset when he's just tired, panicking when he doesn't text back immediately, assuming the worst instead of trusting, replaying past conversations, searching for something you might have said wrong, interpreting silence as rejection instead of simply allowing space. The truth is, confident people don't waste time over analyzing. They don't assume the worst. They trust. They let things flow. They understand that not every pause is a problem. Not every delay is a rejection. And not every conversation needs to be dissected. The silent message it sends to men, just like women, can feel energy. They can sense when someone is constantly in their head, worrying, overthinking, and doubting every interaction. And that energy is not attractive, it's draining. Overanalyzing sends a hidden message. I don't trust myself. I don't trust you. I am afraid of losing control. And here's the reality. Nobody wants to feel like they have to walk on eggshells in a relationship. Nobody wants to feel like every word, every action, every small moment will be overanalyzed. It doesn't create connection. It creates distance. The power of letting go. The opposite of overanalyzing is trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the relationship, trust in the idea that you don't have to control everything for things to go right. When you trust, you exude confidence, and confidence is what makes a woman truly irresistible. Here's how you start letting go. Catch yourself in the moment. When you start overanalyzing, pause. Ask yourself, is this thought based on reality or is it based on fear? Shift your focus. Instead of obsessing over what could go wrong, focus on what is going right. Gratitude shifts energy. Give space. Not every unanswered text needs a follow-up. Not every silence needs an explanation. Let things breathe. Trust your intuition, not your fear. There is a difference between a gut feeling and anxiety. Learn to tell them apart. Confidence is in the ability to relax. The most attractive women are not the ones who have everything figured out. They are the ones who trust the process, who don't let their fears control them, who don't suffocate a relationship with worry. They are the ones who know that if something is meant for them, it will not require force. It will flow naturally. Men are drawn to women who bring peace, not pressure, who bring security, not doubt, who bring ease, not stress. Confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing that you don't have to know everything to be okay. The moment you stop overanalyzing, you free yourself, you free your mind, you free your relationships, and most importantly, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of self-doubt that has been holding you back. Because the truth is, when you trust yourself, the world starts trusting you back. Honesty and directness are the foundation of any strong relationship. But when insecurity takes over, some women start resorting to mind games, testing a man's feelings, making him jealous on purpose, acting distant to see if he chases. These behaviors don't create attraction. They create confusion, frustration, and ultimately distance. Mind games are born from fear. The fear of being vulnerable, the fear of being hurt, the fear of not being valued. Instead of openly expressing needs and emotions, an insecure woman might try to manipulate a man's reactions, hoping to get reassurance without actually asking for it. But this backfires. Because emotionally mature men don't engage in mind games. They walk away from them. Why playing games is a sign of insecurity. A confident woman doesn't need to test a man's feelings. She doesn't need to create drama to feel loved. She doesn't need to see how much he fights for her to believe she's valuable. But insecurity whispers the opposite. It says, what if he doesn't really care? What if he's losing interest? What if I need to make him prove it? And so the games begin, ignoring his texts for hours on purpose just to see if he'll double text, bringing up other men in conversation to trigger jealousy, acting uninterested, hoping he'll work harder for attention. It's hard accepting unfussy enough, unfiltered when you feel hidden, pretending to be okay when upset, expecting him to figure it out. But the truth is, no strong relationship is built on manipulation. Love doesn't grow in an environment of emotional tests and hidden motives. It thrives in honesty, trust, and genuine connection. The silent message it sends to men: men don't just fall for beauty or charm, they fall for emotional maturity. They respect women who communicate directly, who express their needs with confidence, who don't rely on games to feel secure. Playing mind games sends a very different message. I don't trust you to love me unless I manipulate the situation. I don't believe in my own worth, so I need to create artificial ways to prove it. I am afraid of being vulnerable, so I'd rather test you than be honest with you. And what happens when a man realizes this? He starts pulling away. Not because he doesn't care, but because no one wants to feel like they're in a relationship where love has to be earned through tests. Why confidence is about directness? Confidence is not about control. It's about clarity. A secure woman doesn't waste time trying to see how much he cares through mind games. She simply asks for what she needs. She communicates openly. She doesn't create drama. She creates peace. If she's upset, she says it. If she's unsure about something, she asks. If she needs reassurance, she expresses it without shame. And because of that, she commands respect. Because a man doesn't walk away from a woman who is difficult to read. He walks away from a woman who makes love feel like a challenge instead of a choice. Breaking free from mind games. If you find yourself falling into these patterns, stop and ask yourself, why do I feel the need to test his feelings? What am I afraid of? What would happen if I just communicated directly instead? And then make a shift. Speak your truth. If you feel uncertain, ask. If you feel unloved, express it. Trust that you are worthy of direct communication. Stop using jealousy as a tool. No healthy relationship is built on insecurity. A confident woman doesn't make a man feel replaceable. She makes him feel valued. Understand that emotional maturity is attractive. The women who stand out are the ones who make love easy, not complicated. Trust in your own worth. You don't need to test him. The right man will show up for you. Real power is in emotional security. The most powerful woman is not the one who plays the most games. It's the one who doesn't need to. She knows what she deserves, she communicates openly, and she trusts that real love doesn't require manipulation, it requires authenticity. Because at the end of the day, a relationship isn't a battlefield. Love isn't something to be won. It's something to be shared. And when you embrace that, you stop trying to control everything and start attracting the kind of love that doesn't need to be tested. Do you ever find yourself craving constant reassurance from a man? Do you need him to always remind you that you're beautiful, that he loves you, that you're enough? Do you feel uneasy when he's not giving you attention, wondering if something is wrong? Seeking validation is natural to some extent. We all want to feel valued, but when it becomes a need instead of a desire, it turns into insecurity, and insecurity, no matter how well disguised, is felt. It creates pressure. It makes the relationship feel less like a connection and more like a job. Because when a woman depends on a man's words to feel worthy, she unknowingly gives away her power. Why? Seeking constant reassurance pushes men away. A confident woman knows her worth. She doesn't need to hear it every moment to believe it. But an insecure woman is always searching for confirmation. She asks questions like, do you still love me even when nothing has changed? Do I look good in this? But doesn't believe the answer. Why didn't you call me back? As if every small delay is a sign of fading interest. What starts as a need for comfort soon turns into emotional exhaustion. Because when someone constantly seeks validation, they're not just asking for compliments. They're asking for proof that they are enough. And no matter how much reassurance they receive, it's never truly satisfying. The doubt always comes back. The hidden message it sends to men are drawn to confidence. Not perfection, confidence. They are drawn to women who know they are valuable with or without validation. When a woman constantly seeks reassurance, it signals something deeper. I don't fully believe in myself. I don't trust that I am enough on my own. I need someone else to make me feel secure. And here's the truth. No man, no matter how much he loves you, can fill a void that only self-worth can fix. When he realizes that his words, his attention, his presence are never enough to make you feel secure, he begins to pull away. Not because he doesn't care, but because no one wants to feel like they are responsible for someone else's sense of worth. How a confident woman handles validation. A woman who truly values herself doesn't depend on a man's words to remind her of her worth. She doesn't wait for compliments to feel beautiful. She doesn't need constant affection to feel secure. She already knows she is enough. Does she appreciate compliments? Of course. Does she enjoy hearing "I love you"? Absolutely. But does she need it to feel secure? No. She understands that validation from others is nice, but self-validation is essential, breaking free from the cycle of seeking reassurance. If you find yourself constantly looking for validation, pause and ask yourself, do I believe in my own worth, or do I need someone else to confirm it for me? Am I looking for love, or am I looking for someone to fix my self-doubt? If I didn't hear a compliment today, would I still feel confident? Once you recognize the pattern, you can begin to shift. Give yourself what you seek from others. If you need to hear that you are beautiful, say it to yourself. If you need reassurance, remind yourself of your own value first. Build confidence through self-trust. The more you rely on yourself for security, the less you will need it from others. Recognize that silence isn't rejection. If he doesn't text back immediately, it doesn't mean he's lost interest. If he doesn't compliment you today, it doesn't mean he stopped loving you. Confidence means trusting the relationship instead of constantly questioning it. Develop a life outside of the relationship. Women who are deeply fulfilled on their own don't need constant validation. They already feel whole. Real attraction is rooted in security. Men don't fall for women who need them to feel good about themselves. They fall for women who choose them but don't depend on them for happiness. A woman who radiates security is magnetic because she isn't searching for someone to complete her. She is simply inviting someone to share her life. Confidence is knowing that you are enough, even in silence, even without compliments, even when things are quiet. Because the strongest love isn't built on constant reassurance. It's built on trust, self-worth, and an unshakable belief in who you are. Have you ever found yourself dissecting every text, every word, every pause in a conversation, trying to figure out what a man really meant? Do you replay situations in your head, wondering if you said the wrong thing? Do you assume the worst when he doesn't respond quickly, overthinking his silence as a sign of fading interest? Overanalyzing is a silent killer of attraction. It turns simple moments into unnecessary stress. It replaces ease with tension and confidence with self-doubt. A secure woman enjoys the present. An insecure woman constantly questions it. And men can feel that difference. Why overthinking is rooted in fear? Overthinking isn't just a habit, it's a symptom of deeper insecurity. It comes from a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment, a fear of not being enough. And when fear controls the mind, it creates scenarios that don't even exist. If he takes longer to reply, insecurity says he's losing interest. If he sounds different over the phone, insecurity says he must be upset with me. If he makes a simple comment, insecurity says, was that a hidden meaning? Instead of trusting the relationship, overanalyzing makes every small moment feel like a test. But the truth is, when something is real, you don't have to decode it. When a man is genuinely interested, you don't need to search for hidden meanings. His actions will show it. How overanalyzing pushes men away. Men are not wired the same way women are when it comes to emotional processing. They don't attach layers of meaning to small interactions the way an overthinking mind does. So when a woman starts reading too much into things, questioning everything, and needing constant clarification, it becomes exhausting. He feels like he's walking on eggshells, afraid that something innocent might get misinterpreted. He feels like nothing is ever simple, that even lighthearted conversations turn into deep interrogations. He starts pulling away, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels drained. Men crave peace in a relationship. They are drawn to women who bring ease, not tension. And when overanalyzing takes over, it creates an energy that feels heavy instead of light. The power of letting go. The most attractive women are the ones who trust. They trust themselves. They trust their worth. They trust that if a man is meant to be in their life, he will show up without them having to overthink every move. When a woman stops overanalyzing, she creates an energy that is rare, an energy of calm confidence. She doesn't stress over a late reply. She doesn't assume the worst when things are quiet. She knows that her worth isn't determined by a man's momentary actions. How to break free from overthinking. If you struggle with overanalyzing, take a step back and ask yourself, am I reacting to reality or am I reacting to my fears? Do I trust this connection or am I looking for reasons to doubt it? Is my mind searching for problems where there are none? And then make a shift. Give things space. Not every silence needs an explanation. Not every pause is a problem. Let things unfold naturally instead of trying to control every moment. Detach from the outcome. The right person will stay, the wrong person will leave. But overthinking won't change that. It will only drain you. Replace doubt with trust. Instead of assuming the worst, assume the best. A confident woman believes she is loved unless proven otherwise. Focus on your own life. The more fulfilled you are outside of the relationship, the less energy you will spend overanalyzing it. Confidence is freedom. A secure woman doesn't overthink. She flows. She doesn't hold on to fear. She lets things be. And because of that, she becomes irresistible. She radiates ease. She invites joy. And she creates a love that feels effortless instead of stressful. Because real attraction isn't built on fear. It's built on trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the connection. Trust that what is meant for you will never require you to overthink it. Do you find yourself needing constant reassurance? Do you feel uneasy when he doesn't compliment you, doesn't text first, or doesn't make an effort to remind you how much he cares? Does silence make you feel unloved? Seeking validation from a man is one of the fastest ways to lose his respect. It signals insecurity, and insecurity repels attraction. Men don't want to feel like they are responsible for constantly proving your worth to you. They want to be with a woman who already knows her worth. Why the need for validation is a sign of insecurity. Validation-seeking behavior often stems from self-doubt. It happens when a woman doesn't fully believe in her own value, so she looks for confirmation from the outside world, especially from the man she's with. If he calls her beautiful, she feels good. If he forgets to compliment her, she feels unattractive. If he texts first, she feels wanted. If he doesn't, she feels ignored. Her emotions rise and fall based on his actions. And when that happens, she loses control over her own happiness. She hands over the power of her self-worth to someone else. How it pushes men away. Men admire confidence. They are drawn to women who carry their value, not women who search for it. When a woman constantly seeks validation, it creates pressure. Instead of enjoying the relationship, the man starts feeling like he's walking into a test every day, wondering if he's doing enough to make her feel secure. If she asks too often, "Do you still love me?" it makes him feel like his love is being questioned. If she constantly seeks compliments, it makes him feel like his words don't carry weight. If she panics when he doesn't respond quickly, it makes him feel suffocated instead of free. At first, he may give the validation she craves, but over time it becomes exhausting. He starts pulling away, not because he doesn't care, but because the neediness drains the attraction. What true confidence looks like. A confident woman doesn't need constant validation. She already knows she's enough. She doesn't wait for a man's approval to feel good about herself. She doesn't panic when there's a moment of silence. She doesn't crumble when she doesn't hear the words she wants to hear. Instead, she carries an energy of self-assurance. She believes in her beauty, her value, and her presence without needing constant reminders, and because of that, men respect her. Breaking free from the need for validation. If you catch yourself seeking constant validation, ask yourself, am I depending on someone else to make me feel secure? Do I feel empty when I don't receive attention? Am I placing my happiness in his hands instead of my own? And then shift your mindset. Validate yourself first. Before looking outward for reassurance, look inward. Remind yourself of your worth. Trust your value, even in silence. Detach from external approval. Understand that a man's words or actions should never define how you feel about yourself. His love is a bonus, not a requirement for your happiness. Embrace moments of quiet. A secure woman doesn't panic when attention fades for a moment, because she knows attention doesn't define her. Cultivate inner fulfillment. When your life is full of purpose, passion, and self-love, you won't need constant validation. You will already feel complete. Men respect women who own their worth. A woman who doesn't need validation is a woman who stands strong in who she is. She doesn't chase approval. She doesn't demand constant reassurance. She moves with a quiet confidence that makes her magnetic. Because true attraction isn't about seeking validation. It's about being secure in your own skin. And when you radiate that security, the right man won't just admire you, he will never want to lose you. Why do some women believe that playing hard to get, making him jealous, or testing his patience will make him want them more? Why do they think manipulation will create deeper attraction? Men don't fall in love with games. They fall in love with authenticity. They are drawn to a woman's honesty, her confidence, and her ability to communicate directly without unnecessary drama. When a woman plays mind games, it doesn't make a man more interested. It makes him question if she's even worth his time. How mind games destroy attraction. A man wants to be with a woman who brings him peace, not someone who keeps him in a constant state of confusion. Mind games create an emotional roller coaster. One day she's warm, the next she's cold. One moment she's affectionate, the next she's distant. He's left wondering, what does she really want? If she takes hours to reply just to make him chase her, it doesn't make her seem more valuable. It makes her seem immature. If she flirts with other men just to trigger his jealousy, it doesn't make him love her more. It makes him see her as replaceable. If she tests his patience by pushing his limits, it doesn't prove his dedication, it proves she lacks trust. A secure man won't waste time figuring out games, he will simply walk away. Why women play mind games? Mind games usually come from a place of fear. Fear of being too available, fear of losing control, or fear of not being loved enough. Instead of being direct, a woman might resort to manipulation because she believes it will keep his attention. But the truth is, when a woman plays mind games, she is sending a message. I don't trust that my real self is enough to keep him interested. She believes she must create artificial obstacles, pretend to be indifferent, or create drama just to hold on to him. This isn't confidence. This isn't power. This is insecurity in disguise. Men value women who communicate clearly. A high-value woman doesn't waste time playing games. She isn't afraid to express her interest, and she isn't afraid of being direct. If she likes him, she lets him know. If she has an issue, she addresses it. If she wants respect, she gives respect in return. She doesn't need to make a man chase her in unhealthy ways because she understands that real connection isn't built on confusion. It's built on clarity, the power of emotional maturity. Men admire emotional maturity because it shows a woman's strength. When she refuses to engage in petty manipulation, when she chooses honest communication over deception, she sets herself apart from the rest. A woman with emotional maturity doesn't create artificial distance just to seem mysterious. She lets her natural presence be enough. Doesn't test a man's loyalty with unnecessary jealousy traps. She trusts that a strong connection is built on respect, not manipulation. Doesn't make him question where he stands. She gives him the security of knowing exactly where he is in her life. When a man experiences this level of maturity, it makes him feel safe. It makes him feel like he can open up, trust, and invest in the relationship fully. How to break free from playing games. If you catch yourself engaging in mind games, ask yourself, am I using manipulation because I fear being vulnerable? Do I believe that honesty isn't enough to keep a man's attention? Am I testing him instead of trusting him? And then shift your mindset. Be upfront about your feelings. If you like someone, express it. Don't create unnecessary obstacles. Stop fearing vulnerability. Real connection happens when you let down your walls, not when you build them higher. Trust in your own worth. You don't need games to prove your value. Your presence alone is enough. Respect his time and emotions. If you want respect, show it first. Don't use manipulation to gain control. Men, stay where there is honesty. A woman who doesn't play games is refreshing. She is rare. She is valuable. In a world full of manipulation and unnecessary drama, a woman who communicates clearly and confidently stands out. Because men don't stay where they feel confused. They stay where they feel respected, appreciated, and understood. Why do some women seek constant reassurance from men? Why do they believe their worth is defined by how much attention they receive? A confident woman knows her value without needing external validation. But an insecure woman constantly craves approval. She asks, do you still love me? Do you think I'm pretty? Are you sure you're not losing interest? It never ends. And over time, it exhausts a man. A man doesn't want to be with someone who questions her worth every single day. He wants a woman who carries herself with confidence, who believes in herself even when no one is watching. How seeking constant validation pushes men away at first. A man may reassure her. He may say, of course I love you, or yes, you look beautiful. But if she keeps asking over and over, it starts to feel like a burden. He begins to wonder, why does she need me to tell her these things all the time? If she constantly asks for compliments, it makes her seem unsure of herself. If she always seeks reassurance, it creates pressure instead of attraction. If she depends on him to feel good about herself, it makes him feel responsible for her happiness. And no man wants to carry that weight, because attraction isn't built on neediness, it's built on self-assurance. Why women seek validation? The need for constant validation comes from deep-rooted insecurity. Maybe she was ignored in past relationships. Maybe she was made to feel like she wasn't enough. Maybe she was taught that love is something that has to be earned through constant reassurance. So she keeps searching for proof that she's loved. She wants words, actions, and gestures that confirm her worth. But the problem is, no amount of validation from a man can fill the void inside her. If she doesn't believe in herself, nothing he says will ever be enough. Because real confidence isn't given, it's built from within. Men are attracted to self-assured women. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need a man to remind her every day. She carries herself with quiet confidence. She walks into a room and doesn't need attention to feel beautiful. She doesn't question if she's good enough. She simply knows. And that kind of energy is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who are secure in themselves. They admire women who don't depend on outside validation. When a woman is self-assured, it makes a man respect her more. It makes him see her as a partner, not as someone he has to emotionally support every second of the day. The difference between healthy and unhealthy reassurance. There's a difference between needing occasional reassurance and constantly seeking validation. Healthy reassurance sounds like this. I love when you tell me you appreciate me. It makes me happy when you express how you feel. I like hearing your compliments, but I don't depend on them. Unhealthy validation seeking sounds like this. Do you still find me attractive? Are you sure? Why didn't you compliment me today? Are you losing interest? If you loved me, you'd tell me how much I mean to you every day. A confident woman can receive love without questioning it. An insecure woman constantly doubts if the love is real. And that difference changes everything. How to stop seeking validation. If you find yourself always looking for reassurance, ask yourself, do I need a man's approval to feel beautiful? Am I afraid that if he stops validating me, I'll feel unworthy? Do I trust that I am enough, even without constant compliments? Then start shifting your mindset. Validate yourself first. Before looking for outside approval, remind yourself of your own worth. Develop self-confidence. Work on your strengths, pursue your passions, and build a life that makes you feel fulfilled. Trust in the relationship. Believe in his love without needing him to prove it every second. Find happiness within. The strongest women don't need validation. They create their own sense of worth. Men stay where they feel at peace. A man wants to love you, not convince you that you're lovable. He wants to cherish you, not feel pressured to prove it every moment. Because when a woman radiates self-assurance, she doesn't need to demand attention. It naturally comes to her. She doesn't need to chase validation, it finds her. And that kind of woman isn't just attractive, she's unforgettable. What happens when a woman is so afraid of losing a man that she starts to cling too tightly? What happens when her insecurity makes her believe that unless she constantly proves her love, he might walk away? Fear is a powerful emotion. It can make people act in ways they normally wouldn't. It can turn a confident woman into someone who second-guesses everything. And when fear takes over, it does the exact opposite of what she wants. It pushes him away. A secure woman trusts the connection. She believes in the strength of the relationship. But an insecure woman starts to overanalyze every little thing. If he doesn't text back fast enough, she panics. If he seems a little distant one day, she assumes the worst. If he makes plans without her, she wonders if he's pulling away. How fear turns into controlling behavior. Insecurity doesn't always show up as weakness. Sometimes it appears as control. When a woman is afraid of losing a man, she may start trying to control his actions without even realizing it. She asks where he is all the time. She questions who he's talking to. She tries to manage his schedule, his friends, even his free time. She becomes anxious when she doesn't feel included in every aspect of his life. At first it might seem like she just cares deeply, but over time this behavior starts to feel suffocating. No one wants to feel like they're under surveillance. No one wants to be in a relationship where trust is constantly being questioned. A man doesn't want to feel like he has to report his every move just to keep her calm. He wants to be with someone who trusts him, someone who believes in the strength of their bond without needing constant proof. The danger of overanalyzing everything. An insecure woman doesn't just react to what's happening, she creates stories in her mind. She starts to read into things that aren't there. If he seems quiet, she assumes he's upset with her. If he doesn't compliment her today, she thinks he's losing interest. If he spends time with his friends, she feels like she's being replaced. And when these thoughts take over, they create unnecessary conflict. She might start arguments over things that never actually happened. She might demand explanations for things that don't need explaining. And eventually, instead of bringing them closer, this constant overthinking makes him feel drained. What a man really wants. A man wants to feel trusted. He wants to be in a relationship where he doesn't have to constantly defend himself, where he isn't always being questioned, where he doesn't feel like he has to walk on eggshells, afraid that the smallest action will lead to another emotional meltdown. A strong woman understands this. She knows that a relationship cannot be built on fear. It must be built on trust. She doesn't assume the worst just because he's having an off day. She doesn't demand explanations for every little thing. She doesn't create problems in her own mind that don't actually exist. Instead, she believes in the love they share. She gives him the space to be himself, and because of that, he never feels the need to pull away. How to overcome the fear of losing him? If fear and insecurity are making you act in ways that push him away, it's time to shift your mindset. Ask yourself, am I reacting to what's real or to the stories in my head? Do I trust this relationship, or am I always looking for reasons to doubt it? Am I allowing fear to control me, or am I choosing confidence instead? Then start practicing these habits. Give him space. Let him have his time without feeling like you need to be involved in every moment. Stop overanalyzing. Not every silence means something bad. Not every change in behavior is a sign of danger. Sometimes people just have off days. Build your own confidence. The stronger you feel about yourself, the less you will fear losing him. Trust the relationship. Believe in the connection. Stop looking for problems where there are none. Real love thrives on trust, not fear. A man stays when he feels at peace, when he knows he is trusted, when he doesn't feel pressured to constantly prove himself. Because love isn't about control, it's about freedom. It's about choosing each other every day, not out of fear, but out of genuine connection. And the moment a woman stops chasing reassurance, the moment she starts believing in herself, that's the moment everything changes. Why does the constant need for validation make a woman feel empty, no matter how much reassurance she gets? Why does she keep searching for proof that she is loved, yet never feel satisfied when she receives it? Validation is a natural human desire. Everyone wants to feel appreciated, wanted, and loved. But when validation becomes a woman's main source of confidence, it creates an endless cycle, one that can quickly push a man away. A confident woman knows her worth without needing constant reassurance. An insecure woman, however, depends on external approval to feel valued. She doesn't feel beautiful unless he tells her. At first, a man may offer that validation willingly. He might shower her with compliments, remind her how much she means to him, and try to make her feel special. But over time, this need becomes exhausting, because no amount of validation will ever be enough if she doesn't believe in herself. The weight of constant reassurance. When a woman is insecure, she looks for signs everywhere. She wants proof that she is enough, but she doesn't realize she is searching for it in all the wrong places. If he forgets to compliment her one day, she assumes he doesn't find her attractive anymore. If he doesn't say "I love you" first, she questions whether his feelings have changed. If he doesn't immediately respond to a message, she feels unwanted, and so she asks again and again, "Do you love me? Are you happy with me? Do you still think I'm beautiful?" At first, a man may answer with patience, but when the questions never stop, it starts to feel like a test he can never pass. He realizes that no matter how many times he reassures her, she will still doubt. She will still look for reasons to feel insecure, and eventually he stops trying, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels like nothing he says will ever be enough. The hidden damage of seeking approval. A woman who constantly needs reassurance may not realize the effect it has on a relationship. She thinks she is simply expressing her emotions. She believes that by seeking comfort, she is deepening their bond. But in reality, it creates pressure that slowly drains the connection. He starts to feel like he's responsible for her happiness. He begins to hold back, afraid that anything he says might be misinterpreted. He feels like he's walking on eggshells, always trying to say the right thing. And the more he feels this pressure, the more he withdraws. Because real love isn't about proving feelings over and over again. It's about trusting in them. How confidence changes everything. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to be reminded of it constantly. She doesn't rely on a man's words to feel beautiful. She doesn't panic if he doesn't express his feelings the same way every single day. She understands that love isn't measured by the number of compliments or the frequency of reassurances. She trusts in the relationship. She trusts in herself. And because of that, she creates an energy that draws him in, an energy of security, peace, and confidence. Men are naturally drawn to women who are comfortable in their own skin. A woman who radiates self-assurance without needing validation is magnetic. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't demand proof. She simply knows her value, and that alone makes her irresistible. How to stop seeking validation and start owning your worth? If the need for reassurance is controlling your emotions, it's time to shift your mindset. Instead of asking for validation, start building it within yourself. Recognize your triggers. What situations make you feel insecure? What thoughts lead you to seek reassurance? Awareness is the first step toward change. Focus on self-approval. Ask yourself, do I value myself even when no one is watching? Confidence comes from within, not from external validation. Stop overanalyzing. Not every silence is rejection. Not every change in behavior is a problem. Don't assume the worst when there is no real reason to. Create inner security. Work on your passions, your self-care, and your personal growth. The more fulfilled you feel in your own life, the less you will need someone else to prove your worth to you. Trust the love you receive. If he is with you, he chooses you. If he cares, his actions will show it naturally. Believe in that instead of looking for proof. Real love doesn't need constant proof. A man doesn't want to feel like his love is always on trial. He doesn't want to feel like he has to prove himself over and over again just to keep a woman from doubting. He wants to be in a relationship where he is trusted, where he is appreciated without constant questioning. And the moment a woman stops chasing validation, the moment she realizes her worth without needing to hear it every second, that's the moment she becomes truly powerful. That's the moment she stops pushing him away and starts pulling him closer. Because love is not about constant reassurance. It's about knowing deep down that you are already enough. Have you ever felt like your mind is working against you? Like you're constantly searching for hidden meanings in someone's words or actions, even when there's nothing to find? Overthinking is one of the biggest ways insecurity reveals itself. It takes a simple moment and turns it into a crisis. It creates doubt where none exists. And in a relationship, it's one of the fastest ways to push a man away. At first, he might try to reassure you. He might tell you, you're overthinking this, or you don't have to worry. But the problem is, when insecurity is in control, reassurance isn't enough. The mind keeps searching for something to fix, something to decode, something to prove that fear is justified. And this behavior slowly drains the relationship, because no one wants to feel like they're being constantly analyzed, like their every word or action is being examined under a microscope. No man wants to feel like he has to defend himself against accusations that aren't even real. The destructive power of overthinking. Overthinking is like carrying a storm inside your mind. It makes you doubt everything, even when there's no reason to. If he's quiet, you assume something is wrong. If he takes longer than usual to reply, you think he's losing interest. If his routine changes slightly, you wonder if he's hiding something. This thought process doesn't just affect your own peace. It creates tension in the relationship. Because when a man feels like he can't relax without being questioned, he starts to pull away. Not because he doesn't care, but because he feels like no matter what he does, it will never be enough to silence the doubts in your mind. Over time, this pattern turns small issues into unnecessary conflicts. It creates misunderstandings, emotional exhaustion, and resentment. What could have been a strong, trusting relationship turns into a cycle of doubt and reassurance where nothing ever feels truly stable. Why overthinking pushes him away? A confident woman trusts in the relationship without needing constant analysis. She allows things to unfold naturally. She doesn't waste energy imagining worst-case scenarios or assuming the worst about his intentions. An insecure woman, however, struggles to let things be. She feels a need to solve problems, even problems that don't exist. She asks him again and again, "Are you sure everything's okay? You seem different. What's wrong? Tell me the truth. Do you really mean what you said?" At first, he might answer with patience, but eventually he begins to feel like his words are meaningless. Like no matter how much he reassures her, it will never be enough. And that's when the distance begins. Because a man doesn't want to feel like he's in a courtroom, constantly being interrogated. He wants peace. He wants trust. And when he feels like every moment is being picked apart, he starts to crave space. Breaking free from overthinking. Overthinking doesn't make you more prepared. It doesn't protect you from pain. It only steals your joy and creates problems that don't exist. If you struggle with overanalyzing everything, it's time to take control of your thoughts. Recognize when it's happening. The moment you start spiraling into unnecessary doubts, pause. Ask yourself, do I have real evidence for this thought, or is this just my insecurity talking? Stop assuming the worst. Not every silence means something bad. Not every small change is a warning sign. If something truly needs to be addressed, it will reveal itself over time. Give your mind something better to focus on. Overthinking happens when you have too much mental space filled with worry. Invest your energy into things that bring you fulfillment. Your goals, your passions, your personal growth. Trust actions more than words or overanalyze thoughts. If a man's actions consistently show love and commitment, believe it. Don't let a single unanswered text or moment of silence make you rewrite the entire relationship in your head. Learn to let go. Not everything needs an answer. Not every small change requires an explanation. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let things be and allow the relationship to breathe, attracting him with confidence, not fear. Men are naturally drawn to women who radiate trust and security. A woman who doesn't panic over small things, who allows the relationship to flow without controlling it, creates a space where a man feels safe, and that safety makes him want to stay. Because the truth is, confidence is more attractive than perfection. A woman who trusts in herself, who doesn't let fear dictate her actions, has a power that insecurity can never match. So instead of chasing answers to imaginary problems, start trusting in what's real. Instead of overthinking his every move, start believing in the foundation you've built. Because when you stop creating problems that don't exist, you make room for the love, peace, and connection that do. Have you ever felt like no matter how much someone reassures you, it never feels like enough? Like you need to hear the words over and over again just to feel secure? Validation is normal. Everyone needs to feel appreciated, loved, and valued. But when it becomes a constant need, when it turns into something you depend on to feel good about yourself, it can start pushing people away, especially in relationships. Because no man wants to feel like he has to prove his love every single day just to keep things stable. No man wants to feel like his words don't hold any weight because tomorrow he'll have to say them all over again to calm your doubts. Why constant validation pushes him away? At first, a man might not mind reassuring you. He might tell you how beautiful you are, how much he loves you, how much you mean to him. But when he realizes that his words only bring temporary relief, that you'll ask again tomorrow and the next day and the next, he starts to feel like nothing he does is ever enough. And that is frustrating because no man wants to feel like he's responsible for your self-worth. He wants to uplift you, but he doesn't want to be your only source of confidence. That's too much pressure. That's exhausting. A confident woman trusts in the relationship without needing constant proof. She doesn't ask, "Do you still love me?" every day. She doesn't fish for compliments. She doesn't measure her worth based on his words. An insecure woman, on the other hand, keeps looking for validation like it's air, something she can't live without. She constantly asks, "Do you really love me? Do you think I look good? Are you sure I'm enough for you?" And even if he reassures her, she keeps looking for more signs, more proof, more ways to confirm that she is loved. Over time, this starts to feel less like love and more like emotional work. And no man wants to feel like he's in a relationship where he has to constantly hold someone up just to keep things from falling apart. The root of the problem, the need for constant validation, comes from one place: self-doubt. It's the voice inside that whispers, "You're not good enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're not lovable enough." And instead of silencing that voice on your own, you look to someone else to do it for you. But here's the problem. No amount of validation from a man will ever silence self-doubt. Because as long as you don't believe in yourself, no one else's words will ever feel like enough. It's like pouring water into a cup with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much he gives, it will never stay full. Because the real issue isn't his words, it's your ability to believe in them. How to break free from validation dependence. If you feel like you constantly need reassurance to feel secure in your relationship, it's time to take a step back and ask yourself why. Start with self-awareness. The next time you feel the urge to ask for validation, pause. Ask yourself, why do I need to hear this right now? What am I really afraid of? Build internal confidence. Instead of looking to a man to tell you that you're enough, remind yourself. Every single day, affirm who you are. Speak confidence into yourself. Trust in the relationship. If a man shows you love through his actions, believe it. Don't let small insecurities make you question everything. Love is not something you should have to chase. Find fulfillment outside the relationship. The more you rely on a man to make you feel good, the more power you give him over your emotions. Build a life that makes you feel secure, independent of anyone else. Give him space to express love naturally. When a man feels like he has to constantly validate you just to keep you happy, it becomes a burden. But when he feels like his love is appreciated rather than required, he gives it freely. What real confidence looks like: confidence is not about never needing reassurance. It's about not depending on it. It's about knowing that you are enough, even when no one is around to remind you. A confident woman walks into a room without wondering if she's attractive enough. She doesn't wait for a man to confirm her worth. She carries herself with certainty, and that energy is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who radiate self-assurance. A woman who doesn't constantly seek approval, a woman who believes in her own beauty, intelligence, and value. Because when a woman truly believes she is enough, the way she carries herself changes. She doesn't beg for love, she receives it. She doesn't fear losing a man, she trusts in the connection. She doesn't need to hear, "You're amazing," every day to feel amazing. She simply knows she is. And that kind of confidence, that's what keeps a man coming back. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. Have you ever been in a situation where a man says something simple, but in your mind you start pulling it apart looking for hidden meanings? Maybe he takes a little longer to text back, and suddenly you're convinced he's losing interest. Maybe his tone sounds slightly different, and you wonder if he's upset with you. Overanalyzing is one of the biggest ways insecurity shows up in a relationship. It turns small, meaningless moments into reasons for doubt. It creates problems that don't exist. And when a man feels like he has to constantly explain himself, defend himself, or reassure you that everything is fine, he starts to feel emotionally drained. Why overanalyzing pushes him away? Men appreciate peace. They want a relationship where they don't feel like they're walking on eggshells, afraid that something they say or do might be misinterpreted. When a woman overanalyzes, she doesn't just question his words, she questions his intentions. She assumes he has hidden meanings behind everything he says, and that makes a man feel like no matter how honest or direct he is, she will always find a reason to doubt him. At first, he may try to reassure her, he may try to explain himself, but after a while, he realizes that the issue isn't with what he's saying, it's with how she's hearing it, and that's when he starts to pull away. Because a man does not want to feel like every small action or word is being dissected. He doesn't want to feel like he's being studied under a microscope, where every move is analyzed for hidden signs of trouble. He wants to feel trusted. He wants to feel that his words are taken at face value. Where overanalyzing comes from. Overanalyzing doesn't come from logic, it comes from fear. It's the fear of being hurt, the fear of being abandoned, the fear that something is wrong even when there's no real reason to believe it. It's a defense mechanism. The mind starts scanning for potential threats, trying to predict problems before they happen. But in doing so, it creates anxiety, tension, and unnecessary stress in the relationship. A woman who overanalyzes often doesn't even realize she's doing it. She thinks she's just being careful. She thinks she's just being aware. But what she's really doing is allowing fear to control her thoughts. How to stop overanalyzing and trust more. Pause before reacting. When you feel yourself jumping to conclusions, stop. Ask yourself, is there real evidence for this, or am I making assumptions? Often, the answer will surprise you. Take his words at face value. Not everything has a hidden meaning. If he says he's tired, it doesn't mean he's bored of the relationship. If he's quiet, it doesn't mean he's angry. Trust what he says. Recognize when fear is talking. Insecurity loves to whisper worst-case scenarios in your ear. But just because your mind imagines something doesn't mean it's true. Learn to separate fear from reality. Give him space to be himself. When a man feels like he's constantly being watched and questioned, he stops feeling comfortable. Let him express himself freely without overanalyzing every word or action. Develop emotional security within yourself. The more you trust yourself, the more you can trust others. Build confidence in who you are so that you don't feel the need to overanalyze everything around you. The difference between awareness and overthinking. A strong woman is aware. She notices things. She listens. She understands the emotional tone of a situation. But she doesn't assume the worst. She doesn't take every small change in a man's behavior as a sign of something deeper. A woman who is insecure, however, overthinks everything. She plays out negative scenarios in her mind. She assumes a delay in his reply means something is wrong. She assumes a small shift in his mood is because of her. And this mindset drains both her and the relationship. A confident woman trusts. She doesn't need constant explanations. She doesn't allow fear to turn her thoughts into a storm of doubt. She lets things flow naturally instead of trying to control every little detail. And because of that, she creates a space where love can breathe, where a man feels safe, not judged, where he can be himself without fear of being misunderstood. And when a man feels that kind of peace with a woman, he never wants to leave. Have you ever felt the need to hear someone say, "You're beautiful, you're enough," or "I love you," just to feel secure? Have you ever asked a man, "Do you still love me?" even when he's given you no reason to doubt it? Seeking validation isn't just about compliments, it's about needing reassurance to feel worthy. It's about relying on someone else's words or actions to determine your self-worth. And when this happens in a relationship, it creates emotional exhaustion. Because here's the truth, the more you need constant validation, the less attractive you become in a man's eyes. Not because he doesn't care, but because it places the responsibility of your self-esteem on his shoulders. And no man wants that burden. Why constant validation turns men off. In the beginning, he might not even notice it. He might find it sweet that you light up when he compliments you. He might enjoy making you feel special, but over time something shifts. If a man senses that you doubt yourself, that you constantly need him to tell you that you're enough, he starts to feel like nothing he says will ever be enough. A man can tell you you're beautiful 100 times, but if you don't believe it yourself, his words will never satisfy you. He can tell you he loves you every single day, but if you don't feel secure in who you are, you'll still question it. And this is where the problem begins. Men want to be with women who already know their worth, not women who need to be reminded of it every day. They admire confidence, self-assurance, and emotional security. When a woman needs constant validation, it signals insecurity. And insecurity is one of the fastest ways to push a man away. Where the need for validation comes from. The need for validation is rooted in self-doubt. It comes from a fear of not being enough. It comes from past wounds, maybe from childhood, maybe from a past relationship where love felt conditional. Maybe someone made you feel like you had to earn love. Maybe you were told you weren't good enough. Maybe you were compared to others. And over time, this created a belief that if people aren't constantly affirming you, it must mean you're not valuable. But that belief is a lie. Your worth is not determined by how often someone reassures you. It's not measured by how many compliments you receive. True confidence comes from within. It's a choice, a mindset, a deep understanding that you are enough, with or without anyone's approval. How to break free from the need for validation. Recognize your own worth. Look in the mirror and remind yourself that your value does not depend on how someone else sees you. You are enough, exactly as you are. Stop seeking external reassurance. The next time you feel the urge to ask for validation, pause. Instead of seeking it from someone else, affirm yourself. Tell yourself, "I am enough." Understand that love doesn't need constant proof. A man who loves you doesn't need to say it every second for it to be true. Love is shown in actions, consistency, and presence, not just in words. Build self-confidence from within. Work on the things that make you feel strong and independent. Focus on your passions, your goals, and your growth. Confidence is magnetic. Let go of fear. The fear of not being loved, the fear of not being enough. These fears are illusions. The moment you stop looking for validation, you become more attractive, more powerful, more secure. The difference between healthy reassurance and constant validation. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel loved and appreciated. Every woman enjoys hearing that she's beautiful, that she's loved. That's normal. But there's a difference between enjoying compliments and depending on them. A secure woman appreciates reassurance, but she doesn't need it to feel whole. She knows who she is. She trusts in her own worth. And because of that, she creates an energy that draws people in. But a woman who constantly seeks validation sends a different message. She communicates that she doubts herself, that she needs others to fill the gaps in her self-esteem. And that kind of energy repels more than it attracts. When a man feels that he has to keep proving his love over and over, he starts to feel drained. He starts to feel like no matter what he does, it will never be enough. And when a man feels that way, he eventually starts to detach. The most attractive quality in a woman, confidence, is the key. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need constant validation. She doesn't ask, "Do you still love me?" because she already believes in the love she receives. She doesn't wonder, "Am I enough?" because she knows she is. And that kind of woman is unforgettable.